Hi, I'm really excited to share this wonderful quinoa recipe with you, quinoa cocoa waffles. But I want to cover a little bit the basics of quinoa and buying products that you are sure are gluten-free. Quinoa comes as a grain, which makes a wonderful salad when it's cooked up, or pilaf, and it's mild tasting. You can mix it with all kinds of things, and it's wonderful and useful to use. It comes in flakes. I like the flakes in things like a fruit crisp. It also comes in flour, and flour is what we're going to use today. This particular flour is from Bob's Red Mill, and this is not run in their dedicated gluten-free facility. Bob's Red Mill gluten-free products that are guaranteed to be gluten-free have a different label, and it prominently says gluten-free over the top. So if you are very sensitive, I wouldn't use this product, this variety. Ancient Harvest, which makes this product, also makes whole seeds and also makes flour. That is gluten-free. That's in their dedicated facility. And so this is a wonderful product to use, very healthy, but make sure you're getting it gluten-free. The other thing about quinoa flour is I think it's kind of tricky. It has a very distinctive flavor, and I think it's best paired with other strong flavors like cocoa. The quinoa flakes and the quinoa seeds seem to be more mild and less of a pronounced flavor. These are actually easier to use than the quinoa flour, but we've got a perfect recipe for it today. Okay, we're ready for tools. We need to have two bowls, one to mix the wet ingredients in, one to mix the dry ingredients in, and then the wet goes into the dry. That's, again, the muffin method of baking. We need measuring cups, we need measuring spoons. A whisk is very useful. You can do this with a fork, but a whisk is so much more pleasant. I think getting a whisk is a good investment. A spatula, a knife to get the hot waffle out of the waffle maker. And I like to have a brush, and I brush my waffle maker with a little bit of oil ahead of time. This waffle maker is pretty old, and we've used it a lot, and it's got a nice coating on it, but I still like to have a little extra insurance and put oil on there. Also, before you start this recipe, make sure your waffle iron's on. It needs to be hot before you put your batter in. Okay, we want to talk a little bit about the ingredients. Of course, we are using quinoa flour. This is 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons. We're using 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder, and this is pure cocoa powder. This isn't like a hot cocoa drink mix. You need to have the full 100% cocoa. We're using vegetable oil. Any kind of mild flavored oil works here. We're using apple juice. You could use apple cider, and so that this is a gluten-free and dairy-free waffle. And I like to use apple juice instead of the milk substitutes. I'm not that crazy about the milk substitutes. It's just sort of a personal preference, but I don't think that soy milk and rice milk and all those different milks taste that good and bring that much to the recipe. They do have a little bit more protein. This apple juice won't have any, but it's really not a significant source of protein in your diet, so I like apple juice. We're going to use an egg. We're going to use some sugar, some baking powder, and some salt. That's it. It's quick and easy. Okay, we're going to get started. This is the quinoa flour. This is cocoa. And you'll see again, I'm doing my old trick of putting it in separate spots. That's the sugar, baking powder, and salt. Okay, so I know that I put in all the right ingredients. The phone didn't ring, the doorbell didn't ring, the kids didn't start crying. I got it all in here, so I'm going to whisk it up. And the cocoa often gets to be in little balls. And the whisk helps. Sometimes you need to get in there with your fingers and just break them up. They break up real easy with your fingers. And it's important to make sure that they're all smooth in here, or otherwise when you have your cooked waffle, it'll have little dark spots, which sometimes people think, what the heck is that? So I'm kind of helping it along here. Okay, now we're on to the wet ingredients. We're going to start with the apple juice. 1 cup. And that's not quite enough, so I have to open another can. Maybe you'll have apple juice some other kind of amount in different containers. Alright. There you go, 1 cup. And then into that we're going to put 2 tablespoons of oil. Okay, 1. 2. And 1 egg. Okay, and then we whisk that up. Another great use for the whisk. And we want to make sure that the egg is fully incorporated in here. And it gets a paler color and a little bit foamy. And that's what we're after. Alright, now we're going to put the wet ingredients into the dry. Very easy to do. And give it a good stir. You want to make sure that all of the powdery, floury parts are mixed in and it's smooth. And so it's going to take a little bit of a few minutes, or maybe not that long, a few stirs. And I'm getting the edges cleaned up. Okay, there you go. Okay, we've got them all mixed up. This thing, hot. And I am going to show you how I, see that? That's hot. I'll put a little bit, just a little bit of oil on there, and I go all over. And that will ensure that my waffle will pop out. Alright, that's good. And next up is this lovely batter. See that? Alright, I'm going to pour it in here. And you don't want to put in too much or it'll all ooze out all over your counter and you'll be very annoyed. But you also don't want to put in too little. Okay. So I've got all the corners full. That's plenty. Put it down. It's going to start steaming. And I cook it for about 4 minutes. It may be a little different on your waffle maker, so you'll learn on the first one. But it's that simple. In 4 minutes we're going to have a waffle. Okay, it's been 4 minutes. You'll also know when these are done, it'll stop steaming. The steam will go away. So here we go. Beautiful. The knife is to get it out of here because it's really hot. And I'm going to put it on this plate. And move it to the oven. I put it directly on a rack in the oven to help it stay crispy while I'm making the next ones. So I'll be right back. Alright, so now I'm going to use a spatula and scrape down some of the sides and do it again. You don't have to, or at least I don't, have to re-oil the waffle maker. And this amount of batter will make 2 squares twice. And then I'll have a little bit left over also. Alright, so there we go. I also wanted to say that this recipe doesn't have any xanthan in it, and You don't need the xanthan in here because you're not trying to get something to raise up real far, and you also have all those nice crispy edges on the waffles. So sometimes you can bake without xanthan and still use wonderful whole grain gluten-free flours. So we'll be back in a little bit. Okay, we're done with round number 2. Here we go. Get them out of here. Hi. Okay. And we have a little bit left. And this one, depending on the size of your waffle maker, you may or may not have some left over, and you might have more or less. Sometimes these come out looking like fun octopuses because there's like legs hanging out. This one's just going to be not full. Let's check and see if this last one is done. Alright, it's not lovely, but I think it's done enough. Okay, so there we go. We have that one. I'll go back to the oven that's warm and retrieve the other ones that are on the rack, and I'll be right back. There you go. There's some beautiful waffles. And I think these are lovely served with chocolate sauce. And when I make a chocolate sauce, it might just be dark chocolate melted with some oil, so it's not lots of sugar. Or you could use a peanut butter sauce, which is just half peanut butter and half hot water mixed together, and it makes a nice drizzleable, pourable sauce. Or a fruit sauce like raspberries or peaches or strawberries. And this makes a lovely meal. Doesn't have to be just breakfast, and in fact at our house we usually have them for lunch or dinner. So enjoy!